Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you're new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
APIs, again, we have discussed what are the types of APIs we have. I'm sure you guys have configured APIs, but if you have not, APIs are something which requires your credentials before you can move in. Like if you get in Google Analytics data in your inbox, you can go ahead and then map it as a total connect and schedule it. But when you're doing it as an API, what you need to do is you need to go ahead and configure the APIs by means of the credentials. What happens? You need to put in the credentials, allow it. And as an option, you can choose the website. Even in Google Analytics, you need to choose the websites or it is by default as all websites data that you can, work with or pull the reports for. Segment is always optional, but you can go ahead and choose your segment in Google Analytics. Initial fetch is nothing, but from what time to what time you want to fetch the data. Note that you can only process data for the last 90 days in your initial fetch. But definitely, last 90 days and then however you go forward, you can keep on adding dates and it will be fetched. As an initial fetch, when you're configuring your data, you know it will be the last 90 days that you get your data. Extended properties, goes data pages, it says it's a like if you go to Google Analytics and if you check the measurements and dimensions in there, whatever you can see that there's a specific format in which it is written GA and then semicolon and then pages. You can add things like that. But in a regular Google Analytics API, you will see that it's not a custom. It's like that the measurements and dimensions are set. And that's why what they have done is they have given us on Google Analytics custom API. A custom API basically helps us to put in dimensions and measurements of our choice, our needs, and not come up with unnecessary data in my workspace or with unnecessary data in my workspace, unnecessary dimensions or unnecessary metrics in my workspace. I don't want it. What I do is, and also additional metrics and dimension. There are some of the measurements and dimensions which are not present in the normal API that is in Google Analytics. In that case, Google Analytics custom API helps us in getting all those and retrieve them. Once we have configured our thing, I guess there's a data preview tool. I think that tells that is the answer to the question asked earlier. But in the new format, it's been long that I've seen a data preview for an A B. I because I configured and go for forward, but in a pivot table, data preview is something that I've not checked for the APIs for long, but then why not check it when it is there? I see a data preview over here in my slide. I'm sure data preview will be there and you can check how your data is. That's how you configure your APIs. Now comes a very important topic called data load rules. Pretty easy topic, but pretty handy, pretty useful. Data load rules is something that you know is that acts as a quick filter between the that acts as a quick filter when we have our data and we need it to be filtered out. What is the data load rule? Data load rules are data load rules and applying a data load rule. Data load rule is nothing, but it helps us filter our raw data before it gets uploaded to Datorama. We have talked about it, right? If we have data from 5 or 6 agencies and we are interested in 2 agencies' data, or we have data for the entire worldwide data and we are interested in all the US and Canada, we need to filter it out. And as a first stand, can't we filter when the data is in? Definitely we can, but why do we do it at the first? Because Datorama charges on a row level basis and we don't want, like from the initial step, it's working with data. It's the initial step whereby you go ahead and filter your data. What you don't want is unnecessary cluttered data in your workspaces, and what you do is you go ahead and filter your data wherever possible from the initial inception that once your data is in, and that's basically the cleans data or is being a raw data as well. It is the accurate data that you want to work with and that you want to manipulate, that you want to harmonize or that you want to do, and not any redundant data that is going to unnecessarily make your workspace cluttered, right? How does it work? You see the data, you see the Excel sheet below, whereby it is said that I want only USA, Canada data to be ingested in data. Now, in any other case, when you write a logical condition, in a logical condition using operators, it will be country equals to USA or country equals to Canada, right? That will be giving me, when I want data for the two, two countries. Are we good? Yes. Country equals to us or country equals to Canada is going to give us this thing. How do we create a data load rule? Let's check it in data. As I mentioned, earlier as well, that whenever you want to have something like whenever you want to create a data load rule, it has to be always created at first. By that logic, if we go to data load rules now that we know that we want the data for the 2 countries of USA and Canada, what we need to do is if you do it like this, what will happen? Let me delete it. How you do is you need to go ahead and you can create a load rule. How do you create a load rule? You go to add new. You have to give your load rule a name. There are actions called include rows, delete measurements, and fail the entire rule. When you include rows, it tells that for this load rule, we need to include these rows which match a certain condition, right? And then there are delete measurements that for this condition delete all the measurements and keep the dimensions and then fail. The entire load is when you give a certain condition. If that is met, it will never get uploaded in data and it will fail the entire. For our instance, what we need to do is we need to include the rows for the data set that we were talking about. There will be a name. Now I want country as my thing. And then I go to the filters and I add a filter. I add a filter and then what happens is these things will come up. Likewise over here, when we have our data and our aim is to get only US and Canada data from among our data sets. What we will do is we have to write a condition whereby we can use operators. Once we choose the country. There are the fields that are there. We have given it a name, right? $, country, include rows. Now, when we are writing the condition, it is country equals to and country can be not equal. Starts with, not starts with. Ends with not, ends with contains, not contains, etc., etc. This is you. Then what you need to do is you need to add a filter because you need to have your data for country equals to Canada, right? Here is your operator of and or whenever there is a condition in which you need to use and or you can go ahead and use it that multiple conditions are met, right? Once you save it, this is how it works and you just go ahead and save it off. And you go to your data set. This is a data set that I have already mapped, which basically is nothing but the data that we have. Let me preview the source. You see we have date, we have the media by key. We have country as US, Canada, Mexico. We have the city of this and we have impressions, right? How do we go about it? We do an X. This gets mad. In this data stream. I've already created. I'll be using this. You remember the number of rows that were there, right? The number of rows that we used. The number of rows that we have, we will need to filter only US and Canada from there. What we do is we go to edit data stream from data streams. We go to edit data streams and in the rules. I'll get the data load rules that I have created for myself. And from here, if I choose country and save it off, it will give me apply only to data going forward existing or apply to all existing. Let me do an apply to all existing and either. If I choose data, I'll be running. You can see that here is a pending job that's going on. Success. And see, the number of last number of rows that are added has been reduced to 6. Correct. We have 6 rows of data, right? That we want from the 9 rows. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 rows of data to be processed. As we have US and Canada to be 6 rows only. Rows have been processed. Next, what we need to do, we need to verify it in a pivot table. We have 6 rows of data right. We have data for only 6 places. Now comes a condition whereby there can be a scenario whereby we have country and city both. When you have both country and city as a thing, and I say that what I want us, definitely I want us, but I don't want all the cities of us. I want us, but I want this to be only Los Angeles and New York for us. And then I want there for Canada, I want Toronto. And then I want Mexico. I want Mexico at Mexico City and Merida and not Montreal. In this scenario, what you can do is you can create another load room. What happens is a certain thought may come to your mind. Like the one thought that may come in is, why not create 3 different data load rules, right? I'm understandable, right? You are understanding what I'm trying to do, correct? One thought may come to your mind is, why not create multiple data load rules in when we want to have multiple conditions to be met, right? As in one. Let's create one for us which says that country equals to us and city equals to Los Angeles, or city equals to and city equals to New York, or country equals to Mexico and city equals to Merida, or country equals to Canada and city equals to Toronto. It can come to your mind, but we need to keep in mind something. First thing is we cannot combine our and our operator in data load rule. That is rule number 1. Second is data load rules work on a sequential manner. What I mean by sequential manner is, what I mean by the way is when you create your first rule, in case you are creating a load rule for USA and city equals to Los Angeles, what happens is when you run your first load rule, what happens is when USA and LA gets filtered, the other data gets lost. When you are doing a load rule, the first load rule, and you have kept like in a multiple load rule side by side, but as it works sequentially, as you run your US and LA functional function data load rule first, what happens is only that much of the data gets filtered and rest of the data goes for a toss and it is lost. We don't have the data anymore with us, that is gone. When the next thing comes up where country equals to Mexico and city is Merida, when you do that, you don't have any more data left with you because the first data load rule has filtered the data for US and Los Angeles and has taken up the entire, and everything goes for a loss. You cannot do multiple data load rules. Then what? Then what we need to do is we need to do a sequential way whereby we need to first filter our countries and then filter our cities, whereby in a logical condition, if you write, it will be country equals US and city equals to Los Angeles, or country equals US and city equals New York. But you cannot combine and then an operator in data load rule. But as it is sequential, what you can do is you can filter your country and then you can filter your city. Now in my country, now I need Mexico as well, right? What I'll do is I'll add one more, which calls country equals Mexico. I'll add one more and save. And in city, we have an R operator and then city equals to Los Angeles, Toronto, Mexico City, Merida, and New York. By some, you know you have this cities filtered. Now what you need to do is, as it is a sequential manner, we need to declare the data load rules. You go to your data streams list. You go back to your data load rules dataset. Select it. Over here you have country. You also include the city. And say by the time it gets processed, I hope we are all on the same page, right? We are understanding stuff. Because this is very basic where we are, and we will move into the next steps of, harmonization from tomorrow onwards. We will look at the various harmonization factors that are there, and we will see how it works. It got processed, and now if you see the data set over here, the data set where we have applied, the last set of rows processed previously was sit. This time it is 5. By some chance, Merida doesn't be is not recognized by Datorama. I don't know why. I have tried to find the reason as well. But Merida is a city which is not recognized by Datorama in its system. If you guys can find why, it will be more than enough. But then that is not something that we are here for, but we have the 5 things that gets processed. 1, 2, 3, 4 and Toronto in 5. Cool, understood. And if you see I see it, you lied. DF. I uploaded Mexico as the city, but it made like translate it as Mexico DF. And as it is known in the local thing, what is Mexico DF? I had learned about it earlier. It was something they were critical and something like whatever. It automatically translates. It translates the name to Mexico DF. Whenever we do it, please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.